When I saw it. But I had. There are lots of. I mean, there was a lot more. I was working there. No, I'm talking about Madison, Wisconsin, or you see it. Really, my experience. Down on 20. Yeah, so that would be this. Somewhat. It is. I don't know what to do. Oh, Harlan tonight. Yeah. Are you talking? I don't remember seeing that there.
Yes, that's us. We have a comment.
If you haven't signed in, there is a sign up sheet over there on the counter. Appreciate if you would sign in. Figured everybody did. Nobody's getting up.
Yeah, I would.
I've never seen none of these guys in that meeting. Now I see them all. I never seen them before. That's right. I see them all royal.
Yeah, a budget work session one.
Okay. Are you on already?
Anybody else?
Okay, it is Tuesday, December 6th, 2022 at 6:30 PM, 1138 Union Road, Oregon, Wisconsin. I'll call this Oregon Town Board meeting to order. With that, can I get roll call, please?
Kate Glading here. Fred Clark.
Here.
Wayne Ace.
Here.
Carl Walzer
Here.
and Arlen Kai.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3 is approval of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes here to approve. One from the November meeting and one from the budget hearing. I'll call for a motion to approve the November meeting first.
Move approval.
Got a motion from Arlen to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Kate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor is going to say an aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next set of minutes would be for the budget meeting, which was October 24th. October 24th. October 24th. I'll call for a motion to approve that or disapprove.
I'll move to approve the October 24th budget meeting.
Got a motion from Carl to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Kate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor is going to say an aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4 is the financial report and vouchers approval. Take a time to look at them. I'll put a motion to approve or disapprove.
So we're gonna have 2 financial reports in here, just to be clear. We've got the October one, and then we also have the November.
Make that one motion.
To approve the financial report and payment vouchers for October and November.
Got a motion from Fred to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Kate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, so I'm gonna say an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 5 is appearance by Dane County Sheriff Deputy Barton. Do not see him in the audience. So I would say we pass on that. Item 6 is public comment. If somebody would like to speak, you're welcome to speak now. If you're going to speak, please give us your name and your address, and then you can have the floor. Yes, sir.
Brian Richard, 5441 County Road A.
Tammy Malpay,
Just him first, and then after he's
Okay.
been. Sorry.
That's all right.
I don't know if I'm out of line on the agenda here, but I want some time to speak.
Yep, so you can go ahead now.
I'm asking the board to rescind their vote to switch to curbside. Last year, Torque cost $90,000 to operate. Curbside will cost $193,000. There is no benefit to any member of this town to have curbside, except those who have curbside now. They are the minority. The board voted to go curbside based on a committee recommendation. A committee that was formed because Torque was losing money. That was their purpose, yet it was never really addressed. For some reason, the committee's objective concentrated solely on curbside. I have printed pages of false numbers, false claims, and outright lies in the committee and board minutes and packets. No proposals submitted by residents were ever considered. The records will show that they're not there. We still have no real numbers for Torque, yet it will remain open at an unknown cost. Punch cards were randomly raised to cover costs. It was unfair. Those who purchased punch cards are now subsidizing those using free services. The town has an obligation in its ordinance to operate Torque without a deficit. Quote, the town of Oregon will provide a system to charge residents for such usage, which will at least equal the operation cost of the Torque. You have failed to do this possibly for many years. A cost to improve Torque of $100,000 was thrown out there for capital improvements needed. Is there an improvement budget? Is there a breakdown of that? Does it all of a sudden need to be done now? You said no further decision or action would be taken without community involvement. Yet you voted down a drafted referendum, dropped the survey cards, prevented the public from speaking at a committee meetings, and limited board meeting speech to 2 minutes, and ignored a petition of 460 people. I'm the one who filed that complaint. I have no intention of causing monetary damage to any individual here. But this was pushed through so fast, there was little time to find ways to make you listen. Perhaps more than 2 minutes speaking time could have done the same thing. If the board decides to rescind its vote, I would like nothing better than to let the ethics board know that we have come to an agreement and to consider dropping the charges. I've drafted my own proposal to save Torque and would like it put in the record. I have it here. Can I hand it to you?
Yeah, you have the clerk, please.
I have copies for everyone, so she can.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Tammy Mathey, 5708 Bellbrook Road. And I'm here to ask you again, as I did in person on the September 6th board meeting. And that evening in an email, to put the 2-page proposal I gave to each one of you, as well as a 28-page petition I presented at that time in today's minutes or retroactively, I don't care, but I want them in the record. I worked really hard on behalf of town residents to prepare a proposal that really should have been done by the Torque committee. So I want that. I don't want to keep asking for that to happen. And I also want to mention that more residents than you may realize are now aware of the biases, if not duplicity, in which the Torque problem was addressed. Plenty of evidence has been presented to you to justify this claim. And to name the most egregious, as Brian pointed out as well, neglecting for years the mandate to ensure that user fees account for the actual cost of running Torque. And I object to the privately, basically, quote unquote, established Torque committee whose meeting notes made false claims and reflect no effort to present any fact-based financial data comprising a credible fee schedule that would make Torque solvent. In effect, the Torque committee was the curbside committee. I also asked that the vote to go curbside be rescinded and or whatever means be filed to clean the slate and to allow for an impartial and thorough review of the facts, the real numbers, and the proposals outlining the way Torque, as we know, can be maintained. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Okay, stand up first.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ivor Grislis from 326 Wilderness Way. I don't know, I was reviewing the minutes of the Torque meetings in preparation, and I was reading the October 20th, and I found I was trying to figure out like how do they do it with And basically, somebody said, oh, we're $60,000 in the red. Somebody said, oh, there's 300 to 400 torque users. So therefore, I do the arithmetic. We need a $150 annual permit plus punch card, making it cost more than curbside. And then someone noted, I'm gonna quote the paraphrase, that the low cost was people seem to like most about the torque, but that isn't sustainable. So all our objections, all our issues were summarized in that one line. And the 4 members who were there unanimously voted, let's shut it down. Also, there seemed to be a collective amnesia there that day because in previous discussions, they talked about doubling the punches on garbage, punching for recycling. And in fact, that's on the agenda for today, discussing that. I mean, they talked about it, talked about it like it was a done deal. And for me, I contribute like 1 30-gallon garbage, about 12 gallons of recyclables. So anyways, I'm paying about $150 a year. With this, I'll be paying $300 more a year. So there's their user fee times 2. Why would they talk about a user fee at that moment when they knew they wanted to increase the fees on the punch card? So I don't know. I feel the committee didn't really include a representative proportion of torque users or even understand us. We don't torque. So it's a lot of it for me is pushing around those big wheelie bins. If they're great for cities, suburban developments, but if you have a rural lot and your driveway is long, or it's on a hill, or it's gravel, or it's the middle of winter and it's icy as hell, that's really murder, you know. I don't think that's going to work out very well for me. So my dad actually fell down pushing a recycling cart to the curb, flat driveway, for weather, and he almost lost his arm. But they put him back together. So anyways, good story. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Sandner, 467 Union Road. Based on the last comment, I would add to that the fact that the fee schedule that's proposed talks about increasing the double punch for garbage and adding a $6 punch for recycling. What would give anybody, what would be the incentive to recycle if now you're going to pay for that too, if that's the case? And as far as this whole situation goes, I look back in minutes going back a year, more than a year ago, and the minutes that I read from the meeting a year ago, there was a quote from Mr. Ace saying that we have to get waste management and Pelletary in here next year to talk to us. The next time I ever saw anything about torque minutes that addressed anything about a loss was at least 6 months later. Okay, now many of us that are here tonight and people I've heard from during this time are people that didn't even know that's happening. I've walked through my neighborhood. I talk to people that they don't intend that curbside. They don't know they have to have it. And they're happy with doing what we do. I take 1 bag of garbage and some recycling every 2 weeks, you know, but I'm happy to pay for a punch card. I'm happy to pay for a permit on my car. You know, in fact, I think that would be a wise thing to do. I don't know why they are allowing people to come into Torque, even as town residents, without a sticker on their car. You know, you can't tell me that there aren't people that sneak into there. So I just have to ask, when the committee and the board considered this proposal of trying to say we were losing money, did anyone ever consider the points on the other side, those of us that like Torque? That would be my question to you. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just a comment, Dave Osborne, 5434 Marie Road. I cannot use a curbside, long driveway, I'm 81 years old, up on a hill. I don't have an option. You want to come up and to my garage and pick it up? Fine.
Thank you. Anybody else? You in the back, sir. The guy back there was first. Sorry, you're next, Ted.
John Beasley, 489 Sugar Hill Road, speaking for myself and my wife. Just a second, what was said about the issues of long driveways. We have 3 neighbors with driveways over 1,000 feet long. One of them is 79 years old. And I think that curbside is really not practical, and we would ask the board to rescind the previous motion.
Thank you. Okay, Ted, sorry about that.
I want to second that man and that man.
I need your name and I need your
My
name.
name's Ted Boucher. I live on 411 Bramble Lane, Brooklyn. That man and that man, I agree totally with. I'm 87 years old. There's no way in hell I can get them things up to the curbside. My driveway's long, it's icy in the winter. And because of all the trees I have, the ice doesn't melt. And at my age, I can't afford another fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Von Flynn, 4820 County Road A. I have to say, this is the first time I've actually come to object to anything since Dan and I have lived in the township for 47 years. But I agree with everything that these people have said. There is a real concern for this being an option for many of us in the township. We have a population that's growing older, and this is going to be more difficult for so many that it's just so hard for me to understand why we weren't given more input. We didn't even know about this until I read about it in the paper. Maybe that's on me, but it just seems like in the past, we've always known about major issues like this ahead of time. We've been able to have our input. This one, we just feels like we had no input and it's a done deal. And I actually was reading this afternoon that the contract that we have with Pelletier right now with the torque heads doesn't expire until 2 years, 2025. And that there's a buyback of what, 13,000 something? Has that been factored in? I mean, that should be considered, shouldn't it? And what this is going to cost? I don't know. I just feel really badly for that older population. I think this is a great idea for people that might live in subdivisions where their driveways are short. A lot of younger people. But for us old folks, this is tough. And it's a very serious matter. So I appreciate everybody coming tonight and sharing this conversation, because I think it's a very important one to have, and everybody's voice is so important. Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? Public comment? Seeing none, we're gonna move on. Thank you. Item 7, appearance by Payne and Dolan, yearly update. You have the floor.
Hi. Got some handouts for you guys. And I can send you an electronic.
This is different than what I have up here.
Yeah, that one's from last year.
Okay, here we go.
Brianna Buckles, Payne and Dolan. I'm here with a small group tonight. I've got John Gira, our asphalt plant manager. Brian Wallace next to him, our aggregate site manager, and then Phil Douglas, who I'm sure some of you have met. We work on the permitting stuff together. So we're here tonight to give an update on our operations this year, and then just a little look into our operations next year. And first, just want to thank everyone that was able to come out to our open house this year. We were finally able to hold it after a couple of years off because of COVID. We really look forward to that event every year. I think it's a really great opportunity for the community to be able to see kind of what's going on the other side of those berms that they might see when they're driving by. We had some great food. We were able to give a nice bus tour. So that all went well. Looking forward to doing that again next year. And then as far as aggregate site operations go, we did have the crushing plant on site again this year. It started up in January, ran for about 6 weeks-ish. So January through February, then it shut down and it didn't run again until September, when it ran for another 5 weeks in the fall. So September, October, 11-ish weeks total the crushing plant was running. We also had the drag line on site and running this year, which is that big beach sandbox-ish looking toy that takes the material out of the groundwater table for us to process. But that only ran for 2 days because it broke down. So not too much activity with that. We did have the asphalt plant running again this year as well. That started up in June with pretty limited operations, kind of just getting it going, do some testing with the material. And then it really started up after the 4th of July. Then it ran until, I believe, November 2nd. So about 5 months total, the asphalt plant ran. And then as far as just kind of general site work that happened this year, we did do some stripping, so I can kind of show you this map here. I also outlined it on your handout there, but we stripped some area in that northwest corner. So we took the overburden and topsoil off. And then we used that material to reclaim the wash pond in the southwest corner. So as we're opening new areas, we're reclaiming the areas behind it. We call it progressive reclamation. We try to always do that as we're moving forward through the site. That's really it for egg site operations this year. Looking into next year, we don't have any stripping planned. We have enough material and reserves open to keep us going. We are anticipating bringing the crushing plant in and running the drag line as well, but we'll see if that's up and running again. And everything can change depending on the market, of course. Yeah, thank you. Let us know if you have any questions.
All right, is it done for the winter then? Or do we,
Yep.
you don't start up till what, March or something?
Yeah, usually the spring.
Any board members got any questions? Arlen? Somebody in the audience, I know we got some residents that do back up to this. Any in the audience have any questions for Payne and Dolan while the people are here? Well, that's good. We know you guys do a good job and you aim to please the neighbors. And when we have issues with the truck, or whatever, you guys get on it right away. So we really appreciate it.
Appreciate that open communication where you can call us anytime and we'll try to fix an issue.
Thanks for the update. Thanks for
Yep.
coming in.
Thank you.
Item 8, communication by Dane County Board, Gary Bowling.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here again to report on a few of the activities of the Dane County Board this last period. The last 3 months have been budget, and the budget is completed now. And I put I have a sheet in your binder that lists the highlights of the budget. I didn't realize there'd be such a large number of public here. I brought enough for everybody, but I didn't. And it's bottom line, it's going to be about a 4% increase on tax. And this is kind of I call this budget a quality of life budget because it addresses so many of the issues that will help and enhance the quality of life of residents in Dane County. Are there any questions for me?
Carl? No. Arlen? Keith? Greg? Thanks for coming in, sir.
Yeah, if you have any questions, the office staff knows how to get a hold of me. I know Jennifer does, so.
Don and Jerry.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Item 9, Eagle Scout presentation. Steve Rook, did you want to present?
Yes.
Talk about what's going on?
They gave a presentation to the park committee, which we'll discuss after his presentation.
I'm Colin Sutter from Troop 168. I'm going to build some benches for town park and signs for Bicentennial Park. What I'm calling nature signs.
Do you want me to just, you tell me if you want me to go on.
The benches will be the Apol Leopold benches, and then the nature signs will include information about birds and other birds in the local area. It will include images of the birds. Another sign will have information about local trees and plant life.
Sure.
So this is a picture of Bicentennial Park. The red dots are my idea of where I'm thinking of putting the signs, but I will work with Steve Root to finalize locations of the signs. The benches will allow people to take breaks and listen to, or take breaks Our benches will let people take breaks and listen to the sounds outdoors and enjoy nature. The benches, or not, the signs will allow people to learn about the surrounding area and the animals that inhabit it, and will also encourage people to go out and explore and look for those signs. This is what one of the benches might look like. I put it town park. So some of the information the signs might include would be for the bird ones, it would have might have picture, it will have pictures of what the birds look like. It'll have a brief description of kind of what they eat and stuff like that, and their nesting. They'll also have a QR code to an app. For the app name, but it allow people to use their phone to easily identify birds. The other sign has information about trees and other wildlife, but information about the trees and wildlife. And have pictures of what the leaves and plants look like. Here's an example of a sign. The signs might look like. Here's a list of the materials that the benches and signs would require. In total, it'll for about 3 benches and 2 signs would be about $230. Here's the current timeline I'm hoping for. And I hope to get them installed sometime late or early April. Any questions from town board?
Okay, yes,
Yes. I was looking through your materials list. And you had your sign there with little 2x2s for a public park. That's kind of lightweight. And if you're going to be having something like that, it needs people to take some abuse. So it'd be looking at you having looking at something that's a little more stout that can take abuse. And the same would be going for the benches and how to secure them down. The ideas that you have here are good. Thank you for bringing that forward. But do count that parks unfortunately do get abused or things in there. So you need to be making things strong enough to stand up to it and still be comfortable and look friendly. Yep, durable, yet friendly.
I'd ask Steve, did you give them any advice on how to maybe keep them from being walked away?
Yes, similar. I have one suggestion we made was similar to what they do at Anderson Park. Is the back legs, they put a log, good side log that's attached to the legs, that makes it extremely heavy to take a walk.
Okay.
And then we could also anchor it. Which you will do.
Are they getting?
Nope.
Carl?
No questions. It looks good. Nice job on the presentation.
Yeah, great job on the presentation. I have no questions. Everything looks awesome.
Yeah, nice job with the presentation. You had a bigger audience than I think you would.
Well, thanks for coming in, and I kind of agree with Arlen. I think if you use like a 2x4 or 2x6 to hold that sign up, there may be such a thing as that sign is, digging down a foot and putting cement around it, and that might keep it from walking away too.
My idea was to dig it down and use some kind of cement to.
Correct, good. Yeah, sounds like you're on the right track. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Isn't that it for the Eagle Scout project then, Steve? Any more comments on that?
Well, we'll the next agenda. And we can make-
Okay, item 10. Park report, discussion, possible approval of park expenses and Eagle Scout projects.
All right, we'll take the Eagle Scout project first. The last park meeting, we did approve the project with a couple of minor suggestions, one being the bench situation, how to tie it down. What was not brought up was the beefiness of the posts holding the signs, and I totally agree with that. We'll make sure that happens. I'm asking the board for approval of the part of the Eagle project so that he can go forward. in April. And I will be working directly with him in placement of the sign.
So would we look,
Right, question. Steve, do you have the prices here with adding the 4x4s or whatever? Do we need
No,
to
I'm-
increase the price or are we gonna approve the price, the cost
I
tonight?
would like to approve the cost that's in the PowerPoint, and I will come up with any additional costs that is incurred after this.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the Eagle Scout project with the amount of dollars that is in the bullet point.
232.95? Got motion from Fred, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Carl, any further discussion? None, all in favor, from saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. You all approved, young man, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, we have we did approve a sign, an additional Kennedy Park sign. For Kennedy Park is an area where it's walk in, there's no identification that it is part of Kennedy Park. And what we're asking for approval is similar to what's already out there, just an additional sign, cost $495. So we did approve that, and now we're asking for the town board to approve that.
So one sign for $495 for Kennedy Park.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign for Kennedy Park for $495.
That motion Fred to approve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Carl, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries. Can I just back up and ask what's that sign's materials be made out of? Thought it's gonna last for quite a while, or?
Very similar to all the signs in the park right now. We will last. Yeah.
Thanks.
The paint will fade over time. That brings up my next item. That we're going to provide a service project for somebody or a group who, I am going to provide the paint for the signs to touch up all the signs in the park system this spring. That's just an FYI. The other thing is, our next park meeting won't be until March. We will definitely have a March meeting. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, thanks for coming in.
You bet.
Item 11, discussing possible action on the impact fee charge. Jennifer, you want to talk about this, or you've been in touch with?
Well, we brought this up during the budget work session about the impact fee
Yep.
and the possibility that we would need to go to have a needs analysis done. So I reached out to Larry and he kind of confirmed what we had discussed. What I talked to Steve and Kate about was the fact that perhaps the impact fee goes towards park use. We were thinking about having that consultant that did it for the town of Cottage Grove, Mr. Ropers, come in and possibly either can present to the town board or he could present to the plan or the park committee and what services he could offer and how much those would cost. Anything, Steve, that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm willing to take this on and in addition, ask for Kim Yanichek's help with this project. As we move forward, I think it's a great idea that this consultant come in and give us a briefing of what can be done.
I agree.
And cost.
So if you want to do that, you want to do it at a park meeting then?
No, we'll do it at town board meeting.
Do it at a town board meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so you just want to work with the person,
That's correct.
okay. So we'll put on the agenda for January meeting?
How about if I reach out to him and see what his availability
Availability
is?
is.
Yeah, and then I'll let everyone know once I reach out to him. Okay.
Sounds good, thanks.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You have any more questions on that? Okay, item 12, discussion possible action. Contract negotiations with Pelletier for townwide curbside garbage and recycling collection. Fred or Kate?
So last month, we have, as a board, approved the curbside, we didn't discuss who we're gonna use, and then we're gonna make a motion that we use the Pelletier for our curbside garbage pickup and recycling.
You made a motion?
I made a motion.
Fred made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
A second from Kate, any further discussion?
I do have a question. How does this factor into, I mean, no, this is late, right?
they started emailing in August.
Okay.
And then they just were going to give us a proposal. They came to the October committee meeting. They're gonna get us a proposal then and didn't, and now it's December, so. I called her and told her that she could still present if she wanted to, but they were here they had 4 or 5 months to come up with a plan, and this is what we got tonight.
So there's nobody here from this company or just a brochure?
You just must have dropped, she said she was gonna be here tonight
You did, yeah.
and she just dropped this off and. Because I talked to her yesterday afternoon and she said she was gonna be here to present during public comment. Because she wasn't on the agenda and so. She didn't show.
Okay. So what we're talking about here then is continuation of discussions with Pelletary to finalize the numbers that we already discussed informally with them. So that we can get an actual contract from them early next year. I don't know when the timing is. So nothing would change necessarily beyond what we've already talked about.
Correct.
Well, this is just to get the negotiation started.
Correct.
Arlen, anything?
Yeah, you have a lot of frustrations expressed from the citizens who are here. I think this is another example of we're kind of rushing our way through, and while you may be having discussions with Pelletary, I hope that this is not a final part of that discussion on how we move forward. Yeah, we're just gonna have issues with this. I would be saying that if, rather than having negotiations, like this is a final thing, that there would be continued. Yes, it can be discussions with them, but I think we need to be having a lot of discussions on what's going to be happening to the torque, what's going to be happening. Just what are the continued costs of that? We don't have anything in the budget for that yet. And we have, like I say, a general problem with this good citizens that there is a substantial number who are feeling that this is railroad job.
So all this motion reads was we could negotiate with Pelletary on the charges.
You can
So
right now, you got a motion to
We
negotiate.
got a motion and second. Negotiate for the contract.
You can ask the second.
It has been seconded.
Okay, so we're talking about it.
So I would say if there's gonna be other changes that would have to go on next month's agenda. Because there's nothing on this agenda to change anything,
Right,
correct?
correct.
I mean, this is really the next step after last month's meeting. So we approved streamlining the torque and going to curbside in some manner. It wasn't specific last month. So now we're trying to get down to specific details. And it does not preclude discussions with people who may have objections to going to curbside. It doesn't preclude that at all. Those discussions can still happen. But what we're talking about here is, okay, out of the group of really just Pelletary and Waste Management, these folks seem to not be that interested. Between those two, we're identifying Pelletary as the company to proceed with negotiations. But I think that's all it says here.
Okay, well, it's maybe something that needs to be on the January's meeting, because I still feel that we should be having something that resembles a townwide referendum on this. And so that we can be settling this issue with a vote townwide. But that's something for another, for possibly January's agenda.
Excuse me. So we've got a motion and second. To get solid figures to make a contract. Negotiate with Pelletier.
Excuse me.
Kate, you got anything else to say?
Yeah, I do. But let's take the vote, and then I have a lot that I would like to get up and say. If that's okay.
What's that?
Let's do the vote, and then I have a lot I'd like to say. You don't want to do
No,
that.
once the vote is done.
No, well, my vote is okay.
No, we got a motion, we got a second.
I just wanted to.
We got a discussion now.
Okay.
Once we vote on it, the discussion's done.
Okay, so.
So we got right now with the discussion.
I want to address the people here to understand, you've been doing this for 2 years, and I see you people look at me like you hate me. Doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel good on our side either. Okay, but listen, I've been working on this for 2 years. No, wait, it's my turn to talk. We gave you your turn. This has been really hard. I studied the issue and made the best decision for everyone in the town. Yes, I have called people. I have been through neighborhoods. You are a lot of people that really want this. I understand that. But you want to know something? We have a really big financial problem. It started 12 years ago. Fixing this problem was kicked down the road. 12 years ago, we lost a great deal of our grants. We also had the big problem with the levy. The town is losing money. We don't know how to pay for when the fire department wants something new. It's a serious problem. Towns all around us have addressed this issue, maybe 10, 20 years ago, and gone to curbside. I mean, I have a list of around here, the people that are using it all right around us, have done it for 10 years. I'm old. This is not an easy place for me to be, but I like to think that I'm nice. And I have people that have been very unkind to me. I did this fair. I did this honestly. I did it with all this information that I've been getting for 2 years. You've been critical of the TOR committee. The TOR committee were good people that gave their time. They were not the curbside committee. We had a person, we wanted them to find out, this is what the plan was. Let's see if it can be safe and efficient. There was no. We had 5 people. Several used the torque, several used both. We had a really nice group of people that worked hard. No one would listen to them. I can't tell you the amount of hours that we spent here trying to come up with a plan, trying to come up with the figures. I'm sorry about the long driveway. I have a husband that's 82. We have a solution. I ride my bike all around us. Going towards New Glarus, there are those long driveways. I rode my bike there one day when they had their pickup. They have little places to keep those containers right on the end of the road. They just leave them there. They bring the car down. They put them in there. But the number one thing is the finances. That's it. That's the number one thing. We can't afford it anymore. And now let me tell you something. There's a lot of people here and I listen to every one of you and I'm sad that this is happening, but there's more people out here in the town that want us town to operate efficiently and are really, really going to be happy to go to curbside. You are a minority. You're a big group here, but you're not the majority of the people in the town. There's a lot of people that go there.
I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. Chance to talk.
How do you know that?
Yeah, prove it.
Let Kate finish first. Are you done?
We've heard about people that come in for the free stuff, okay? And then they go to Walmart with their garbage. We can't support that. We have people that really only want to do it because it's inexpensive, but we've kept it too inexpensive for all of you for way too long. The other thing is, it cannot stay as it is because we need so many improvements that we can't afford. Now, somebody sent a nasty letter, made fun of me for saying I want to be able to give enough money to the senior center. Now, I'm the representative to the senior center. We have a 3-year contract. We have 1 more year on it. Now listen, I had to go there and explain, our town is so short of money. We're not going to be able to afford that. And they said, don't you care about your seniors? Well, I care about you people out here. Yes, I do. We got to make the tough decisions.
You said a lot. May I address some of them? I don't hate you. I don't know you. I don't hate any one of you. I respect the hard job you have to do, and I really think that you believe you're doing the best. I believe you've done a lot of research. I've had 30 days to do a lot of research myself. I don't agree with your numbers. First of all, how can you say, no matter who's paying for this, we're paying for it, okay? $90,000 to operate Torque last year, $190,000 on the Pelletier contract for the first year. There's your numbers. It comes down to that. If you want to make this a business decision and losing money, let's do this a different way. Let's at least address, now you say the recycling committee, okay? I'm sorry, I asked the question how this committee was formed. I didn't get any answers, so I did my own work. There's 3 of you on the committee that live in the same neighborhood, a neighborhood that is conducive to.
I'm not on the committee.
You're on the board and you did a lot of research. You said that yourself. I can't help but say there hasn't been some neighborhood talk. Okay, all right. It doesn't look good, Kate.
The person in my neighborhood that was on the committee wanted the Torque to stay open.
Okay, I'm saying the optics here, the optics to the whole town. When I start going out, and I didn't want to accuse anybody. I drove around on trash day. I took pictures of where the containers were in front of people's houses. So I wanted facts. I don't want to accuse anybody. And I felt we're not being listened. I got to do something. The only thing I could find was the ethics violated. I was told by an attorney, didn't give me very good advice, free. Okay,
Right.
So that's what you get. That I need to name the town. Okay, I'm okay. Maybe if I can name the town board, we can have a discussion. I have to name individuals. I was called on a timely fashion to readjust my complaint, to make it correct. I really don't want to go after anybody with this. He told me that it can be amended. Once the complaint is made, it's out of my hands, but a recommendation can be made.
You know, let me tell you something. This was private, personal information. So I would appreciate you not discussing the ethic thing anymore in front of the whole people. And I think maybe, you know, you are not the majority. I'm sorry, you people that really want something terribly
What
bad
fact do you
that
have?
I represent.
What fact do you have of the majority and the minority? We've never gotten numbers.
The tax.
We never voted.
We never voted on the
For a
6th.
referendum.
On the 6th.
Nobody asked.
Wayne said there would be a referendum. He took a show of hands and said there would be.
I
It
don't
was drawn
recall.
up, the attorney drew it.
You
up.
can look at the video.
I didn't say there would be. I said I recommended one. I didn't say there would be. I never said from the beginning there would be.
You asked for feedback and you got it.
I said there should be a referendum. I didn't say there
Well, thank
would be.
you.
Why
There's
do
a
we-
difference.
Why would we argue about the numbers here? We're not gonna agree. Why don't we just get a show? Why? Fred did the work of getting a referendum done. And, you know, I don't understand. Why don't you guys say, he's a board member? My opinion, Fred got handed a bad sandwich here. He's in charge of a hot box and, you know, I don't blame you for that. We're here to help. I take an honest look at my proposal. I'm saying that Torque could maybe operate with the stickers we need to have. It identifies people. Stickers should be used for overhead. The gates are open, okay? We got employees here. Pay for that with that. And people use brush once a year. I mean, maybe there's a lot of pickup people who use brush. And we're saying it's free. It should be paid for. It could be paid for in that people want to bring brush once a year can have a reduced sticker, okay? So they're not paying for all of our services. We'll pay for our trash. And you know, now I'm seeing the fees now that trash, again, you're subsidizing it. Now it's a double punch for trash. And like my mom said here, that we're gonna go to the same cost for recycling. Will we lose our grant if we don't recycle? Because I have no reason to keep 2 bins if it costs the same to go into one. So are we gonna, is that true? Is that what the fee shows? $6 for trash, $6 for recycling. Where's our incentive to recycle? And then where's our grant?
The grant will still go from Pelletier and we'll probably pick up more.
I'm talking the grant at Torque. Right now, in the 6 months while we argue about not listening to people, in that 6 months while we're operating till I got bins sitting in front of my driveway. In that 6 months, we're paying $6 for recycling now, starting January. Okay. Why should I recycle? Will we not lose a grant because of that? Why do we have a recycling grant? It's an incentive to recycle. You're incentivizing us to not recycle, at least for the 6 months. Now, I did hear one argument about the rush to vote last meeting, the rush to get this signed now. And that was to lock in a fee. The fee escalates every year. What difference does it make if we sign it next year? Why don't we just ask everybody what they want? What do you want? You've already did the investigation of a referendum. It was drawn up. I think we paid an attorney to do it. Just use it. Just use it. What about the cards? You've talked about it. Just use it. You'll get the numbers. And you know what? I might not like finding some way to get my trash down to the end of the driveway. But if I'm in the minority, if I really am, that's the way it goes. Nod your head, you don't have the numbers.
I guess my question would be, I use the senior center too, and I hear you talking about how we're gonna spend the town money. I use the senior center too, but the issue isn't that. The issue is that we were losing money at Torque. So we're not talking about subsidizing the senior center. We're not being able to subsidize the senior center because we don't make enough at Torque. The committee really should have been formed to say, how do we address what the real problem is? The real problem was we're losing money. So where was the talk about how we can turn that around? Where was the talk about how we can increase revenue over these costs? Because it could have been done.
There's some real proposals out there. I've gathered them. I couldn't find them in the minutes, so I found the people who gave them. And there's some real proposals out there. Mine used Lori Fitzgerald's numbers. The only numbers I had, I used her numbers. And I just rearranged them a little bit and said, just look at these. Please just look at them.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Please just look at what I prepared too. And Kate, you know, I object to something. You claim you did all this research. But in the Torque committee notes, the beginning, there was this assumption that everybody would be happy because after all, most of us had curbside. Most of the people, it began there. That's just factually untrue. So where are your facts? Where is your data? Where is your proposal?
Did anyone check with Rutland?
Yes,
You-
Rutland is wanting to
never
do
brought
the
up.
same thing. I'm
They
very-
want to do the same thing, but you know, you hired a new employee down in Torque. He says the people at Rutland aren't too happy seeing what's going on in Oregon. So I don't think they're all on board with this either.
Okay, well, we're gonna move this meeting on. So all this does is start, lets the town board negotiate for the contract. And if something's gonna come on the agenda for next month, then I think Arlen's got something in mind for that.
They could do.
Excuse me. Susan Davis Damaris, 5686 Bellbrook Road. Keep using the word negotiation, and I don't have a lot of facts. I just object to the Torque being closed, but negotiations mean to me that it's on its way. It's not a proposal. It's not an option. It seems to be the word negotiation. And my biggest objection is price. You know, we're half empty nesters. We go once a month, maybe twice a month. And it's gonna increase threefold or more, it seems. And I can walk down my driveway, but I also have a long driveway and I load it in the truck at the top and I take it with me. But
It just,
The words you're using seem to me, and that it's a done deal because it's a negotiation means that you're getting to an end product versus you've already made your choice.
well, unless the board look into Pelletieri on what they're gonna offer us, is what it does.
Okay, well, at the meeting, Fred made a statement that Pelletieri program had been subsidizing the torque for a long time, and if it's going to be everybody, whatever those numbers are, those advantages don't seem to be passed on to us, that it's already increasing in price by 3 or more. And if it was already subsidizing, isn't that number going to increase for the benefit of the choice of picking them as the provider?
You kind of lost me there for a second. Did you catch in on that? You lost me for a second.
I'm not totally sure. I'm gonna just repeat again, though. I think this is just a next step that we have to take no matter what, to know what the numbers that Pelletieri is offering are.
We are negotiating a
We can't
proposal,
compare
not,
to
I mean,
anything.
negotiating sounds to me like you're,
Well, we
We're
have,
towards
we have to make
the
an emotion and approve it to get facts, solid figures in front of us. That's
okay,
what it really is. It gives us solid figures.
I
That's-
think,
There's numbers in the packet.
I think we,
I understand, but
Okay.
they're not, it's not in writing for us to sign a contract to say this is what the price is gonna be. This is a guideline in my mind.
I think we'd feel a little more comfortable if there wasn't a vote to already go to curbside. You know, I get what you're saying. I'd like to trust you that there's good intentions and that's how it'll happen. But the protection's not on our side, you know what I'm saying?
But there's nothing on nothing on the agenda tonight to rescind that vote.
Does
Well,
that
you're
have
like
to,
that,
oh, does
Mr.
that have to be on? No, then
Gotta
resend
be-
it.
It's gotta be on the agenda. It's not on the agenda. That's why I said in January, my guess is Arlen here has something in mind.
There might be something going forward to address this still. We just want to be fair.
Okay, so to move on, Arlen,
Kate, I wanted to refute some of the things that you were saying. You've been talking about the majority. We don't know what the majority is. We do know that 1/3 of the people have curbside pickup. You know, 1/3 of the people in the town are you actively using the torque. Actively. So we have, and then we have another 1/3 that may be using it sporadically. Or going to Walmart or a quick trip to drop their stuff off there. Or some combination of whatever. But there's no clear majority in any of this.
Lori, you want to
And
address
if
this?
you-
You really tried to find it for us. Lori from the
Well,
Tourist Series.
right now, we can be hammering this
I
out.
don't- I
So I
don't-
want to say that this is not going to go on, your facts are not going to go unchallenged. Yes, we will be bringing something to be on the agenda in January regarding the future of the torque or curbside. So we can count on that. So right now, I'd say we got a motion on the floor here. Let's move on. Because that is what's on there and that we have these other issues to be dealing with later.
so any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor is gonna say an aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay. So it passes 4-1 to get.
No.
No. Aye. Which is the same sign, so that is what you're saying. No.
Thank you.
Okay. I appreciate you folks coming in and voicing your opinion. I really do. Thank you. 14. No, I'm sorry, 13. Discussing possible action, recycling and cardboard fees. Resolution 10-2022 amending 2023 fee schedule. So this was brought up, I guess, about the cardboard. Is that what I understand? What I was, that and the recycling. We don't charge for cardboard, and I don't know how you're gonna put a price on cardboard.
We get paid for cardboard.
Correct. I mean, we don't charge people to dump it.
We do not, because we get paid.
Correct. And I don't know how we can set a fee for that. So as far as I'm concerned, cardboard stays the way it is. Is that kind of everybody else's impression?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sure, I don't know.
Okay, we don't need to.
Put it on a scale.
Recycling.
Cardboard.
So
Uh,
add a, like, parentheses, like, cardboard charge.
Right.
Okay.
Make a motion that we do not charge for recycling cardboard.
That motion, Carl, that we're not charging for recycling cardboard. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
What about
Second from Carl. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, so saying aye.
Aye.
Close same sign, motion carries. So amending the 2023 fee schedule.
That would just be the resolution to pass that. I'll just, if I need to just amend that, to just add behind that recyclable. You want me to add in parentheses something that would say no charge for cardboard?
Or should it be a separate line? Because are we gonna talk about recycling or recycling fee? Is that part of this agenda
That here
item?
in the agenda.
Recycling and cardboard fees. On number
Are you
13.
talking recyclables only?
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Recycling and it's recycling and cardboard.
right, so I think either we have to reaffirm the $6 or we have to have discussion about if it's should be something other than $6.
I move that we do not charge for recycling. For depositing, using recycling. We're putting recycling into the recycling bin, that we do not charge for that.
Okay, there's a motion from Arlen. Is there a second?
So I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
Second from Carl. Further discussion.
So, current year 2022, there's no charge for recycling, or is there in this same way?
No.
Correct.
Okay, and then for 2023's torque budget, Jennifer, we use the same numbers essentially as 2022, correct? 'Cause we did-
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the impact wouldn't be any worse than this year. Correct? I mean, it would be, we've increased the fees in a couple other areas, I think. And I don't, sitting here right now, I don't know what the volume in recyclables is versus what we bring in, what we can sell them for. I don't know what that amount is. I don't necessarily know, I'm not necessarily sure that 0 is the right dollar amount, because there is a cost to us. And as far, my understanding is the recyclable market is not great. So it's 0. So if I don't know what the magic number is. But maybe it's less than 6.
Okay, well, this is getting back to the whole charging things. When I find it very bad to be having a punitive type charge to be putting onto the recycles. We're getting a grant, modest though it is. We are not charging wholesale for an entry fee or participation for people who are bringing in brush. And oil.
Well, brush, okay.
And that, so this seems like this is a punitive type charge on here that we should not be putting on to the recycling. Granted, there's no limited or no market for what's there, but we have been subsidizing the torque from its very beginning, from its inception, years and years, generations ago. It never paid for itself, and it has not been planned or managed into the future here. And for all the things that we're having trouble with road budgets, the torque is not the fault. The torque is not the only thing that we are subsidizing. The torque is not the only thing that I can, by getting rid of it, we're going to solve the problems of getting more roads, getting finances for the roads.
The only problem is, Arlen, we need capital improvements. You cannot allow people to work there without a place to walk.
And you know something, we are going to we have already determined that into the future, it's going to be operated. And we need to have some of those capital improvements They have not been planned in the budget, which I've been advocating. We do not have the full budget plan for continuing the.
That's another reason why we cannot afford to keep it going because of the expenses that need to be done.
Even if we're going to curbside, then the recycling is going to go down. In the meantime, you got minimum of 6 months that we're going to be doing recyclable. And we should not be putting that into a punitive type charge. And like you say, that they're not going to be, what's the incentive to recycle? We need to be doing that, even though there's no market.
So I'm not sure that it's punitive. I think if I remember the discussion right during the budget meeting, we were just trying to match the garbage and recyclable fee. Because essentially they're equivalent except for the material themselves, equivalent as far as a financial perspective, right? We don't make any money.
Wait, if we don't make any money, what they're charged, they're pulling it away. We're getting some, I don't know what I haven't talked to Pelletier as to what are the options for recycling. Is that different from the regular stream, trash stream? But even so, we should be keeping stuff out of the landfill and keeping it recycled just on the general principle.
Well, so there's already recycling pickup at the Torque, so I'm not sure what you mean by. We don't know the options. As far as I know, the options are.
As far, well, Fred's saying that there's zero market for this. What we do know.
Not just Fred.
That was just Fred.
No, I know that, but. The news in general.
News in general, okay, even so, are we keeping it out of the landfill? Does doing the recycling, keeping that stream of trash,
right,
that's recyclable, does it keep it out of the landfill? Is that a good thing to be doing? I think it is.
It is, although you hear horror stories about.
And if we,
Stuff coming back
and if
to
we
a
make it a punitive type charge. What is the incentive for the good citizens to be continuing with the recycling, to keep things out of the landfill and possibly get things reused?
Right. You're saying punitive, and I don't think that that's the case.
I'm sorry?
You're saying punitive, but I don't think that was the case.
I find a charge can, excess charge and not charging other places where they can be, having something that's shared by the community as a whole. As far as the access fee, we have no access fee. We should have.
Yeah,
Well, sticking to okay, so there are a lot of moving pieces, obviously. But if we're in this agenda item, we're talking about the recycling and cardboard fees.
In the cardboard, we have said,
So
no,
you're proposing 0 for the recycling fee.
I'm proposing 0, or if anything,
What
greatly reduced.
to 3?
I find that even little.
So our punch card are 3,
So it'd be 1 punch.
so it'd be hard to justify that.
I mean, I think it
If
would have to be
you
0
have-
to 6.
I mean, we can't do half a punch. I mean, it just doesn't work.
Pardon?
I don't know how we could do a half a punch. That
Well,
doesn't
then don't do any punch.
How much does the recycling cost us now?
Pay $300 a pull.
A pole, how many poles do we get in a year?
You get, how many containers do we have up there, Lori?
There's one.
You mean the one?
Well, just the
recycling is once a week. I think recycles once a week.
So we pay 52 times whatever that one costs.
Right, and then we have the other bin with the
3 open
cardboard.
dumpsters, we also have to pay to have the cardboard hauled out.
Yep.
And we have to pay to have the metal hauled out.
Yep.
And they all have, isn't it something like $150 per pull?
It's $224.73.
Isn't
And
that
then
the-
there's a diesel fuel charge on top
Right,
of that.
okay, so it's more than
And then
that.
there's a disposal fee on top of
That's
that.
probably
You know,
gonna,
I could do some
Are
kind
those
of,
the same people that pay you for the cardboard?
yes.
And then there's a grant. I'm just curious if the grant does a fair damage on the recycling cost. Because that's what the grant's for, right?
I think it nets out, doesn't it? It just all goes toward the operations.
I think that the grant that we get is half of what we used to get in 2012 when they cut that. So the dollars that you spent 12 years ago, if you were going, are not the same dollars we have today.
I understand. I was
So,
just
right.
trying to make it
So-
right currently.
So we can't, the money doesn't go as far as it used to be. That's kind of what's getting us to this problem is we don't have that state funding. And the state is telling us they're not going to increase that funding and they haven't increased. that
I've read the
funding.
correspondence,
Yeah.
the grant. So is, we get the grant because we participated in a program
No,
that's an incentive to recycle, right?
no, the grant is, the state mandates municipalities to recycle. We have to provide you with recycling. Whether we provide it at the curb or we provide it at the torque, we have to provide recycling. We have to, so we can't just say, we're not gonna recycle. And that money will be given to us whether we go to curbside or we continue the torque. It
Yeah,
doesn't
all
matter.
that. That's,
But the grant could always go away. The state could say, we don't want to fund it. They took it half away and they've never increased it. And we could tomorrow, if the state was in, they could say that's not gonna be in the budget.
could we
have no-
predict with the numbers we have going forward next year, could we predict that that grant would at least cancel the recycling part? I mean, we don't know what'll happen with the grant, we don't know what'll happen with the recycling, but it sounds to me like the grant is somewhat for incentive to recyclers to help with that.
So you have to think of all of the costs, like we have to pay for the employees to be out there. So it's not just the hauling fees, it's the employees to be out there. It's the utilities we pay out there for those things to happen for us to collect out there. So you would have to add all of that together to get and then minus. But in addition to that, you know, we have staff time, you have the public works time, that's not in the budget at all.
Sure.
That's our time to help fund that. So the grant itself, we do the grant, we have to submit, it takes us a really long time to do all of that. None of our time is calculated in that.
I understand how that works.
Right. So when you're asking that question of what can we cover with the grant, it depends how you want to look at it. You want to look at singularly and say what we pay to Pelletary. You could do that. You want to look at the actual cost. You could do that.
I think that's where we really should take a good look. If this is a popular place, I would say even if half the residents use it, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a numbers game. There's a lot of people in this community who enjoy it. If we could make it work, why not make it work? Everybody's happy. I think, why don't we, instead of putting it all on Fred, could we have a torque committee? Somebody to answer to, somebody who's watching these numbers, somebody who could get these numbers constantly and manage it. Take the issues off of your guys' lap. We could report, that committee could report. And I'm not dissing your committee. You know, I'm saying a long-term committee, somebody who's volunteering to be in charge, keep this in cause. We should use that grant at least to try to make recyclables zero, because it gives us incentive to recycle. I won't take the time. I've taken the time because it's free. And I've taken that time to wash my recyclables, pay attention to the labels, get it in the right bin. But I won't do it anymore. If it's the same, I'll just put it in the garbage. We won't be shield sticker. Then that's what I'm saying, you know, you said all these other costs, Jennifer. I think that if the sticker addresses the overhead cost of all this other costs we have, the sticker generates some of that income.
Right.
Well, let's get back to what this discussion was about. Do we change the recyclable fee? I hear you. I agree with people recycling. I would, in my own mind, I'd see people recycling versus paying $6 to throw it in the trash.
Can I ask a question? When we changed some of the other fees, would that be, I think it was more low volume stuff that we boosted up, right?
We boosted up your furniture,
You know, so some
we
of,
boosted up, I thought we boosted up some of it.
You did dining chair
Dining chair and
That's what
couch
we
and
did.
stuff, yeah.
so those,
or upholster chair, excuse me.
so,
Upholster chair was what we moved up.
okay,
Yeah.
so if we thought about that as sort of chipping away at what we might charge for recycling, can we get by with dropping from 6 to something else and not have a huge effect on the budget?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a short question. So when you talk about $6, what is the unit of recycling? Is it 30 gallons? Because that's pretty heavy.
Well,
We're not allowed to drop garbage bags in the recycling too, I think.
right, I think that's a well, variable, isn't it? It's just.
Just $6 at all.
Well, I think it was
30 gallon is the measuring that I have seen.
I guess-
Trash and recycling.
I guess, tell me if I'm wrong, if I refresh my memory, the reason we threw the $6 in recycle was to help offset the cost of the torque.
Right.
And we had several people in the audience that were willing to pay more, and that's where the $6 figure came in. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And we all voted on
Right,
it.
and this is, it's difficult, because some people are saying it's too expensive, and some people are saying it could be boosted, so it's, I don't.
Well,
I mean,
There is a
we need to encourage recycling. So, I mean, I would be in favor of reducing that recycling. And move on. I mean, we gotta encourage people to recycle. And maybe people start recycling more. If we don't charge for recyclable, people recycle more and we'll get less in the trash.
This is why I asked whether the budget was essentially the same as this current year's budget, because we know what the potential loss is gonna be, right? We know what the potential loss would be if recycling was zero, and we get a little bit of boost from the other things that are increased. We're not gonna chip away at much more with recycling with zero. But we already have anticipated a loss for this, for 2023.
Correct.
So I'm getting very close to thinking zero, I think, about the number until we sort out more.
Steve?
I don't know. I got confused with the whole discussion. I have no comment.
Right.
We did raise it to try to increase some revenue because we are $45,000 to $50,000 short for next year already. That
I'll
we
buy
know
a
of.
sticker.
It's my turn to talk, man, please.
Sorry.
Point of order. Okay. So that was the reasoning, because we know that we're short. So I think we need to charge something. I would be fine with 3. Cut it in half and then give us some more income to try to offset some of the deficit that we know that we're going to be short. On the 50,000, we all know the price of fuel is going up. We all know that everything's going up, nothing comes down, so it'll help anticipate the loss that we could occur for next year. That's my take.
Your motion was for zero, correct? Would you want to amend it to 3?
Somebody else has to amend it besides me.
We gotta go to a vote on this.
We gotta go vote. We got a first motion and a second. There's been a motion. I forgot I even made a motion, Fred.
And card.
I made a motion to go to 0 for recycling.
And Carl, sorry.
All in favor, by saying aye. Aye.
The motion was to go to nothing.
The motion was to go to nothing, but we may be clearing it out to talk about. But depends on the vote on the motion.
So all in favor to go to 0, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So motion fails. So now we need a motion to either leave it at 6 or change it to 3.
I would move to. For 2023 recyclables at the torch to charge $3 per 30-gallon equivalent.
Got a motion from Carl, go to 3. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Fred. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all favors are saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Yeah.
Nay. Motion carries. But it does go to $3.
With cardboard being free.
Cardboard being free. Okay. That's it on the fee schedule, correct? Nothing else gonna change? I know Jennifer, you brought up today about tires.
Oh, did you guys see that?
Yeah, I've
Because I
seen
wanted
that.
to show you, yeah.
Right.
Wasn't that really interesting how they break down all those different tire sizes? I didn't even realize. And I wanted to ask you, what is that $35 agricultural tire? Did you see that? What is that?
I don't know if that's a big track. I didn't think we needed big tractor tires in there, so I don't know what it. I know Palms charge like $40 for a big tractor tire. I've been told, I haven't had a tractor tire for 30 years, but. I seen that too, and I don't recall a big tractor tire being there.
There was 5 of them. Agricultural tire, each small, 5
But-
for
so
$35. So
It
that was
could be-
$175
Some of
charge.
them flotation type tires.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Can we find out what they are?
So we know. Not anymore, they're gone.
Oh, now, but
We should match up with what their fee schedule is,
yeah,
right?
I mean, you know, that's kind of, that
We
was
get
kind of
6.
their,
We got 6, but that cost us.
that was 5 at 35. We don't have a charge for 35.
Right.
What, can they tell us what that tire, not necessarily what we said if they're already gone, but how do we identify them?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I got that today and I thought it was just,
Because here we got large truck tire and tractor tire of $30.
so they charge.
So we don't usually get much for that anymore. It's mainly all 15, 16.
Yeah, the biggest one we get are the car tires. Off
16 that I take home. Really good.
And then we get charged if the tubes are in, and then we get, of course, that
Right.
fuel surcharge, which is an additional,
I
with
can't
the
believe,
environmental fee is another $250.
I can't believe the price they charge us for the tire of the rim on it too. You would think it'd be the other way because metal's worth money.
We gotta take time to take it off.
Okay. Item 14. Discussing possible approval of appointment for plan commission member. Arlen, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, we interviewed 5 candidates, and again, it's impressive as to the quality and scope of people that are willing to be serving on the plan commission. And we have help me with her pronounce it.
Jessica Barmack, are you here, Jessica? Oh, she's in the back.
There we go.
Saying that
Jess?
correctly?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
We have, and she is in attendance. So Jessica, I have a terrible time with names. And I didn't want to butcher it too badly, but we have recommended that she be appointed to the plan commission. We're looking for as much looking for the talent, but also some variety of points of view for the plan commission. And Jessica has agreed to serve.
Yes.
Do we have, and I move that we appoint Jessica to the plan commission.
Got a motion from Arlen to appoint Jessica to the plan commission. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second from Carl. Any further discussion?
Yep, I actually want to mention too, not so much about the specific appointment, but at some point. Before we get to the next round of filling a vacancy, we should talk specifically about what we mean. For diversity on the plan commission. My understanding though was in years past, there were a couple farm family representatives, a couple subdivision, and then mixed. And then a mix. So I don't know that we're at that kind of mix right now.
No, we're
So
not.
we should, I think, I'm just around that we should consider that in the future, before whatever the next round, that could be the next round right there. Consider that.
We should be looking at but we were following some of the criteria that was from the town of Rutland, which seemed to be a very appropriate, very good outline of some goals of who's on there. And I have you look at that.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I'm not questioning this appointment with the direction that the plan and the interview committee. So I'm not questioning that at all, but I'm saying for the future, beyond this appointment, we should consider what that mix is,
Yeah.
what kind of mix we want.
And it's, and demographics are changing.
Any comments on this side, people?
Yeah, I do. I met Jessica. I like Jessica, but I'm disappointed in the choice because it seemed like you picked someone that thinks the same way as the other 6 people on the board as far as future plans for the town. She stated right away she was doing it because she didn't want future development in that one area. So that bothered me some, that opinion on it. And I like her. I think she'll be a good job. I think when she learns some of the stuff, some of that may change. But we did have a person, we had a person from a farm that applied, we had a person from the subdivision that applied. We need to one of those. Were chosen, so I
Hello,
think that
Brian.
would have added to the diversity and a little more better representation.
Anything else? The only thing I'm gonna make a comment on, this term is just through Andy Bloomstrom's. Just so you're aware, this term is just to fulfill Andy Bloomstrom's position, which will come up in 2024. And then you'd have to be asked to be reappointed at that time. Okay, so you're aware of that?
No, I wasn't actually.
Okay, so it's a year and a half instead of a 2-year program. Right?
Yeah, 3 years
For
and
3
it's,
years?
and it's a year and a half because he was halfway into his
Right.
term.
Yeah.
So.
Excuse me, very icy on the sidewalk and right at the end, be careful.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Got a motion, got a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all famous for saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations and welcome.
And then Jessica will be, you'll officially do that at the plan commission meeting.
I'm just gonna sneak out, put some salt on that sidewalk.
Okay. So Jessica, there probably will not be a December plan commission meeting, but they're looking at January. And I don't know if they're gonna do January 24th yet as a joint meeting, or you're gonna meet January 17th and January 24th. We were talking about that today because Chuck School can't make the January 17th meeting. Remember this? And so we were talking about having it be just a plan commission meeting and a joint meeting on the 24th, but I don't know if that's been quite finalized yet, because we haven't talked about the joint
We
meeting
haven't talked.
date here.
I guess I'm sort of open to each.
Yeah, so we'll figure it out, but we'll finalize that just to let you know.
Okay. I'm here.
Yeah.
Are we in recess?
Yes, means salt on the sidewalk.
It's winter, I guess.
Yeah, they just came back in and said the sidewalk's icy.
Little ice on the sidewalk, so I didn't want everybody else to leave and then slip, so.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to get in my legs. Jennifer's falling asleep over there. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
That helps too.
Is it still sleeting or
It ain't
what?
doing nothing right now,
Okay.
but it is. It did build a little bit.
Okay.
I need another one too. Thank you. Look at these up and then full way to the rim. It's dangerous. Okay. 15. Discussion and possible action, mail letter to town residents regarding town-wide curbside pickup collection. Now, I was told that you and Lori did something with this.
There were 5 of us. It's been
Okay.
2.5 hours coming up with a letter.
Okay,
Jennifer, Stephanie, Lori, me, and Diana came up with a letter.
okay. I haven't seen it.
Do you have copies?
Is it in the book?
No, it's not in the books.
You know,
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The only thing I'm gonna say, I'm reading this from the beginning. I don't know if we can publish this. Here's my concern. I don't know if we can send this at this rate until we see that in writing from Pelletary on a contract.
That's not gonna come, what did they say?
Probably in January, right?
No, I don't know. I think that's why I think this was a go around, but I think there was questions.
Because we just got a notice that their fees are gonna increase.
I think I think some of our rates of putting garbage there, our haul rates are set by our contract.
Right.
But then the price we pay per ton for when it's actually thrown away are going to go up. But I
My
don't think
concern
it's
is-
gonna affect this so much, but because we don't have that contract, I don't know.
My concern is that if that fee is changed. Before the contract is presented to us. That's another.
We could put the price will be
Loophole.
less than $14 a month. We can be
you can
sure
do
of that.
You can do that. I just hate to set this figure.
Right, I hear you. I
And
mean,
then
I think
somebody
this
come
is
back
said
and
pretty
say-
much what it was, but we could say less than $14.
Okay. And right there, you. Should you not be saying that you're just as the motion is passed, that you are negotiating a contract? You're negotiating or you're discussing the contract. Rather than it is. Beginning the contract. You're still negotiating, just as you objecting to the price, putting that price in there. If you want to have it say that it's going to be less than. And you're sure of that. That's possible.
Do you think this could wait another month? No.
People need to know, they need to notify Waste Management. It's time for us, let the rest of the people in the town know what's happening. They know that there's been stuff going on and they want to know now. We owe it to them.
I'm also a little confused on the torque hours. I see the Wednesday is, well, where. It's not mentioned, and I thought it was every other Saturday.
No, our employees agreed that they would work every Saturday, but for those hours, 7:30 to 1.
Okay, so that has been agreed there.
And that
Then we-
is just if we have employees to work, because remember, we still only have 2 employees. So if one of them gets sick. We gotta close because one person can't be there, or somebody's going to have to step in to help, so. Those hours are what the hours can be, starting December 24th of this year.
Okay, that the hours. We certainly did discuss. I'm very happy to hear that they can be there weekly.
And that's just as of, like I say. With 2 employees, because nobody else has filled out an application that said they would like to,
Right.
has not done it, so. We are kind of stuck with what we got, so.
So if you're gonna send this letter, you should put a date there.
Yeah, and we discussed.
The date is that the torque's gonna start
Because.
these hours. It doesn't say a date, it just says Saturdays.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we were first had talked about after the first year, but Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are both on Saturdays. So we decided to go start 2 weeks early before the end of the year. So they could have Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve off for half a day.
Sure, yeah, I remember talking about that. But I think you need to have a date in there. If you're gonna send this,
So this will be going out in January, so then. In 4 hours, that will be,
before this, you're not gonna send this till January?
well, we could send it
Well,
sooner.
then, if we're gonna start that date, we need to make some signs and put out there. I'm willing to get the signs made. Just tell me what you want on them.
This new torque hours starting December 24th. Are this, and we have not discussed Wednesdays at all with those guys because
So what do we want, 3x3s,
sure
4x4, 3x3s, 2x2s?
3x3s will be fine.
Well, nobody would see if the gate, well, people would see if the gate's open, right? But
Well, I think we should,
couple or three and then.
my thought was. If we put one out by the road right when you pull in.
Yep.
Double sided,
Mhm.
then maybe hang one where Lori's shack is, was by.
Not Lori's anymore.
Right by the recycle bin.
Right. Would it make any sense on the signs to put something like employment opportunities available almost?
I was gonna suggest that, yeah. It makes sense to put up a sign there advertising, in fact, you're looking for employees.
To me, if you're gonna do that. You may have to make a little bigger sign to get that lettering big enough to read it. Because that's.
We could word it at some point. Yeah.
Get something put together and I will take it. So I don't care who wants to do the wording, what you want. You tell me what you want, you get it to me and I will take it and get it made. I'm sure it's gonna take. A couple weeks probably get it made. I don't think it's gonna happen in a week. I don't know. I can check. So are we good with that? You two want to work together on that?
Okay,
Wording?
yeah.
No Wednesdays, are we saying? Or do you?
I have not talked to them about.
So we're just gonna do Saturday, 7:30.
We go Saturdays and hopefully, because we don't.
Hopefully
It
they'll make it.
depends on if Sheldon's got to work on Wednesday afternoons. And if he has to work, then we will have, hopefully somebody steps up and can work Wednesday afternoons.
Okay.
Because we can't just have one person work.
No, yeah, that's. Even two, I'm not thrilled with. Like two at a time, I wish it were more, but there's nobody
We should
there.
one hand, the other because
I know.
we got what we got.
You would hope like out of the group of like
And,
all
you know,
the torque fans that.
We ran ads in 2 newspapers
I know.
and didn't get nothing. So, I mean,
So is this, you want a motion to approve this letter with the corrections?
Yes. Yeah, well, the correction is gonna be that no more than $14 a month. And then the time is okay. We don't have to say the date if we don't mail it till January 1st.
And
Is that okay?
And I think Arlen's point was to tell me, I don't want to put words in your mouth. But you had to say more, we're looking to negotiate with Pelletary Waste Systems to start curbside, July 1st. But to back off a little bit in saying that we have we don't have a contract now, right? But to say that we're negotiating with them for that.
So you want to change that first paragraph?
And you are talking about updating people into the future.
Right.
And so that would be reinforcing that.
Yeah, there could be a second letter when everything's.
This is implying that there will be further communications.
No, we meant all along that we're gonna continue to, as things move along, at least send one more.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't put it here, but when we got together that day, that's what we agreed on. As things get closer.
Good.
Waste Management said they would contact people. They would see that there was no late fee. And if people pay a year in advance, they would get everything returned 2 months post. They will.
Should that be included, do you think, in the letter?
We just wanted to keep it so that
Follow-up letter.
if it's too long, they don't read it.
Okay.
The Waste Management will let people know. They said they'd send out letters too.
Okay, so you want a motion to, somebody make a motion to approve this letter to send it with the corrections?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this, to send this letter with the corrections and to send it after January 1st.
Got a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Carl, any further discussion? And none, all in favor, I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Who was on your letter writing team?
Stephanie, Jennifer, Lori, and Diana.
I think it's good.
We spent a long time because we had all kinds of facts, and then let's just figure it out and make it understandable and something short enough that they'll read it.
Okay. We're at halfway through the agenda. 16, discussing possible approval of 2023 employee compensation, set a date. I am free next week, any date except for Thursday.
Can I get clarification on what we, is this a closed session meeting? Is
Yes.
this? Yeah. Okay, so here's my question about that is, what we expect to cover in the closed session meeting versus some salary and cost of living adjustment questions and votes that we could have in an open meeting, because there's a difference. You know,
We can do all that in a closed session.
Well, I don't think we're supposed to though.
It said that letter that you read the bottom, it said accept.
Except for things related to specific employees.
It said unless it's compensation, wages, benefits.
For specific people is the way I took it. I didn't take it as for general, all, like, if the way I took it was if it affects all employees, then that should be discussed in an open meeting.
I don't think it has to be. Why it's on closed session before, and I would make a motion to do it in closed session.
Jennifer, your opinion, you just as soon get this over with as soon as we can
Right.
do it, whether it's open or closed, is that where you're at? What's your opinion?
My opinion is that I think that there should be a procedure that you're following the same thing every year, and that we should work on having that be a proper procedure that meets all the criteria that other townships are doing. I don't think past practices are exactly the way that we should start going forward because they've changed. So I would err on the side of making sure we're looking at what we're doing next year before we just continue the same cycle.
What I'm concerned about is, if we're talking about something like a cost of living adjustment, you know, there's an index, right? So we tie it to an index. The index says an increase should be this percentage for someone's salary. That's easy to do, and that's almost the foundation of whatever we should be talking about. On top of that, we could be talking about merit increases at an individual level, but the problem, and that should be definitely in a closed session. But the problem with that, at least from what I understand now, there really isn't anything to base merit increases on. I mean, we don't do, tell me if I'm wrong, but we don't do performance evaluations. We don't do anything like that.
That's kind
Right.
Yeah.
I've done it for a while.
So what do you base an individual merit increase on? I don't know.
We used to do that and all the employees complained about filling it out.
Yeah, maybe that's not, I don't know, I can see that, but I don't know, you know, maybe the process, the procedure is different. But I'm for 2023, I think the consumer price index that, like, say this, it exists anyway. Social Security has published a number for anybody that gets Social Security benefits, I think is 8.7% as the increase. And that is just for staff keeping even with price increases. But that's a reasonable index to tie to, though, because it's not always 8.7, you know, in a non-inflationary period, it's a much lower percentage. It just happens to be a weird year where it's a big number. I'd be tempted to say that's all we have for right now. That's all we legitimately have to look at, is saying, here's the cost of living adjustment. It's 8.7 across the board for employees. And then throughout next year, try to figure out some kind of methodology for evaluating performance and granting merit increases and doing those things. And I don't think we have that.
I was trying to understand what it was that you said as to what we should be doing going forward.
Should be doing something that meets all the criteria that he just laid out.
Okay. And we have not done that in the past.
No,
Okay.
And I'm saying, even with the cost of living adjustment,
Yeah.
if we say we'll take that number, that does not put anybody ahead
I realize that's something I agree wholeheartedly, that we have a cost of living that to stay even,
Mhm.
that the whole crew should be getting. We should be finding what that is. I agree. Now, I'm hearing that we don't have a formal outline procedure. How do we get that formal outline procedure going?
We used to have one, we don't
Making
have
some
one.
suggestions.
Steve was saying they used to.
Yeah, one, we
So they're-
don't, you don't anymore.
Right.
There was a performance evaluation that they would pass out, and some people would fill it out and some people wouldn't. But you're talking about a procedure that would be like something in a handbook, which is something we'd like to work towards, is a handbook. There's
Okay.
not that existing. So that, I think what you're talking about is something that I'm talking about as well, where we would actually have a procedure, which would be in a handbook.
I totally
And,
agree.
and position descriptions that are up to date. Because I think they're outdated, aren't they? Anything that exists is either general or, or out of date. The other thing that I think makes sense is to do periodic evaluations of what the salary range is for each position, but you have to have a position description for it first. To say, okay, here's the market for town clerk, let's say. Here's a market for town clerks throughout this region, similar municipalities. What are the salary range? How does somebody come in as a new employee, new town clerk versus somebody who's got more years experience? So there's a lot, it's sort of like rebuilding the HR aspect of the town.
So we're now rapidly approaching the end of the year. What are you suggesting now?
Met index to CPI.
Starting
For
with that.
2023. And then during 2023, work on putting some of these pieces together. Because I would love to recommend merit increases, but I have no idea how to base them on anything.
I asked the village about it and Martin sent me their old stuff that they don't use at all. It was really ridiculous. It was page after page after page. And then they hired a consultant that they thought was going to help them with salaries and this, but they said, no, you don't do them both together. So they just got the help with salaries and they haven't done anything with merit yet either.
So we just want to say 8.7 across the board for this year and then work on something for next year. And we're not meeting next week.
I would say, well, could I go a step further and say, why don't we tie each annual cost of living adjustment to the easiest thing I think most people use is Social Security Administration publishes, but it's just really coming from whatever agency does the CPI numbers. So to tie it to that index as the foundation for annual increases, right? And then work on anything above and beyond that for merit. Because again, like the cost of living adjustment is like keeping even. That's the way it works.
Is that a motion?
So 8.7,
Well,
That was
I
my
can-
motion, yeah,
yeah, 8.7
straight across the board.
across the board. And then work on,
Changing things for next year. Get a handbook for all employees and figure out how to do merits or whatever. I don't know.
There
I
should
made a
be,
motion.
there should be merit and interim merit considerations.
And that could all be something that needs to be put together in a handbook. And I've said that for many years, we needed a handbook and never got one. So,
there's
I
a
wish,
ton of examples.
I mean,
I have them. It won't be that difficult.
So your motion is for the exact 8.7 and not the cost of, not the CPI index.
I'm saying 8.7 raised straight across the board.
Okay. I'll second that.
Got a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carries. We don't have to meet next week.
Are we taking is there a second motion on how to create that?
We can
handbook?
do that next month. Arlen, we're getting late. Jennifer wants a quick meeting, so We can discuss that next month and get a committee or something doing that.
I think our committee is with it.
So I just want to throw it out there. I mean, I know you made the motion. Village of Oregon gave 2 holidays, which are Martin Luther King and Juneteenth. We don't have them. I'm not advocating that we have to have them, but it's sort of that piece that you would give as diversity to people. So
Right.
I'm just putting it out there, if that's something you want, but
Which I think is a good idea too. And what
something
I,
we can do in the handbook if you want.
what I would like, what I'd like to do with that is index our holidays to some of like either the county or the state or something. Now, does the state cover Juneteenth and Martin Luther
They
King
do,
Jr.?
they do.
Does it make sense to tie to the state holiday schedule?
You could, I think that includes Veterans Day, which is just one that we don't have, so Veterans Day would be an additional one. And
I think we can investigate it some more, see what other municipalities are doing and stuff.
Yeah, or February or March.
Yeah.
April.
Okay, 17, discuss and possible approval, move town board meetings to the second Tuesday of the month. I don't
this is my request.
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
We've talked about this for
Yeah,
years.
let's do it.
It works out better for the financials.
So there's a motion,
I'll make a motion that we move the town board meeting to the second Tuesday of the month.
then one from Kate, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Fred, any further discussion?
Just a quick thing, is there anything in statutes that points at the first Tuesday?
No.
I don't believe so, but I will make sure to look.
It is
at
in
it.
writing somewhere,
Yeah.
that our town meetings are be held the first Tuesday of the month.
So we'll have to
That
look
have
to
to
make
be
sure
changed.
everything changes
Yeah.
that. And we're gonna start at 6:30 still,
Yeah.
correct? And do you want to start that with the January, or when would you like that to become
Starting January,
effective?
that's fine. The only thing is check the legal part of it,
I will.
because I do know that it's in writing somewhere
I think so.
that our town board meets the first Tuesday of the month. So, and I don't know where that's at, you're gonna have to find it, I guess.
I can find that. I just want to make sure we're knowing what date that is. So
So
we're
you may
gonna,
have to. You may have to reach out to town association, ask if you can just change the wording, or we have to vote on it, or if we have to make an ordinance, I have no clue.
okay, who moved? Wait, I'm sorry.
Kate passed it, Fred seconded it,
Okay,
everybody's in favor.
and then it was 5-0. And so we're gonna start that Tuesday,
January.
January 10th,
Yeah.
which helps us then to talk about the plan commission.
January 10th.
Yeah.
So
So it's not gonna be the 3rd, although I will say that nomination papers are still due on the 3rd at 5 p.m. So for all of you that are going to be running for election, they're due Tuesday, January 3rd at 5 p.m.
So you're working later that night?
Anyways, yeah, it's fine, but I just want to make sure everyone knows, and then we'll have our board meeting on the 10th, but I can still send out a letter to like, everybody knows that who's running or, you know.
And there's no conflicts in the meetings on the second Tuesday. And that'll probably help Steve some, because usually have your meeting like the second Tuesday of the month on Monday, so you can get it up to date for the next month, you know, so yeah, right for you.
I think that the reason that we did it was more for that, the idea that in the old days, when we used to mail plan commission packets to the plan commission member, we wanted this week in between town board and plan commission. Because we do everything by email now, that mail is not really an issue. It just causes more for you. You have 2 weeks in a row that have a meeting, so. Okay,
And there was benefit to
Okay.
paying bills in a more
Yes.
timely basis.
yes,
right?
I don't get all of my end of the year, like, it's difficult to get all of your, especially like January 3rd, I would not have all of my end of the year. Because people are on vacation, so they're not wrapping it up, so, yeah, that will definitely be a help for. And just helpful, because then I can send out packets and I'm not still paying bills until 4:30 in the afternoon, and I'm not getting packets out so late, which have no information in them that are financials, because.
Okay, 18, finance report, Oregon, nothing really report other than we swore in 2 new people. And the employees agreed on a 3% raise a year for the next 4 years. Bella, Carl?
No meeting, and I haven't heard what the situation is with the chief resigning.
Oh.
I think he may be gone at this point. I'm not sure. I'll have to check for next time.
EMS or fire.
The EMS.
He just got hired from Albany like a year or 2 years ago.
That's a little soap opera.
Brooklyn, Fred?
Everything's running good according to Mark, nothing to report. Called me last night.
19, emergency management report discussion, possible action on radios. I know
There's
there's a lot of.
in the packet, and so
Yeah, there-
there, which is good, so you can see it, but we're gonna hold off until March to resume
Okay.
talks with Gen Com and then the Jennifer, Stephanie, Abel, Ryan, and then any of the law enforcement that might inquire, I guess, that might need to coordinate with us. We coordinate with them
So move it to March.
to March,
Okay, thanks.
even maybe to April, because I think we won't get started talking again till March. And just as a side note, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, there was some discussion about phase 2 radio with this phase 1 and whether we could get phase 1 radios to hook up with Danecom. And one of the guys at Danecom, Chad Flex said, if you move pretty quick, we can probably do it as phase 1 radios, but we'll be past that date in the spring. So we'll get phase 2 radios. And the increase in the cost per unit is not that much, a couple $100.
All right, thanks much. 20, plan commission report, Arlen.
Important thing is that Jessica's joining us. We have our joint plan commission and town board meeting to be discussing the comprehensive plan draft and direction that's in there. This would be building up before the public hearings that would be following shortly afterwards. We also have, the Dillman family has been saying they are pushing for having some development rights that they do not have. And we voted to send them a letter to this effect, but that it also has a future that the comprehensive plan will give them the opportunity to purchase development rights. So that, has that letter been sent?
I have it in Wayne's packet because, which I just asked him to review it just to make sure before we sent it out that he was okay with it.
Okay.
I gotta read it and sign it.
Well, Tim signed it, but I wanted you
Oh,
to
okay.
just okay it.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wanted to make, so I haven't sent it yet, only
I'll
because
do
I
that
wanted
after.
it to go.
I'll do
through
that
it.
when we get
So
done.
that's there.
Let's get
So
a look at it.
now, as far as setting a date for the joint,
But why don't we have that the same night as the plan commission is supposed to meet? Because there's nothing on the agenda anyway to speak of, right?
Jerry Jensen's gonna be on there.
Yeah.
However, Jerry Jensen is not, he came in and made a presentation about potentially getting additional lots. He's not asking for that in this petition. He has 3 lots. He's reconfiguring them to a different location. So we anticipate people might show up, but they're not gonna do that. So the problem becomes, I was talking to Arlen earlier, is one of the plan commission members is not available on January 17th, which is their normally scheduled meeting. So they talked about, I don't know if I was at that meeting or I was online, about doing it the 24th. So that member would be able to participate. So I guess that's up to Arlen what he would like to recommend for a date.
well, I guess I'm sort of looking for, I'd like to have a full membership there. So if we could,
17th is not gonna work then.
Right, the 17th would not work because we
Yeah,
know one
so-
member is going to be on vacation.
What about the first week of January or the second week or?
The 10th is when we're going to meet. That's
Right.
what we decided to do. So it would be the 24th or it would be the 30th.
Let's do the
31st.
24th.
Well, we can't do the plan for it because the plan commission is meeting that night.
Oh.
We really don't want to do it when there's gonna be people here discussing a thing.
I think that they were,
I guess we should.
to decide if that would be okay to have that both on the same night. I think that there's not a lot that the plan commission has to work on. So besides Jerry Jensen's public hearing, there would be nothing else the plan commission, other than
I'm fine.
continuing to work on.
I'm fine. I don't care. Makes no to me.
say we should try the 24th.
That sounds good.
That'd be,
All board members open that night?
Yep.
How about if could we do this? Normally we start at 6:30. Why don't we start the public hearing at 6? And then
Well, it shouldn't be a public hearing, is there?
it's Jerry Jensen's to move those 3 lots. So he has 3 lots. They're in different locations. He wants to move them to the end of Bridge.
And you have to have a
So
public hearing for that?
Yeah, he has to have a public hearing. So if we did that public hearing at 6, And then the board members get here at 6:30 and you guys could wrap up your, hopefully could wrap up your meeting by that time with that.
Yeah, if we have
That sounds good.
enough people notified that 6 o'clock, that it is 6 o'clock. Don't do what I do, which is show up at the usual time.
Only one time. Oh, it was only one time.
Yeah, that'll be-
This will be that one time.
We can start 6:30, it just gets to be a later night for everybody.
No, I agree with that.
Okay,
See, the plan commission started at 6 and we got 6:30.
Okay.
I think that's a good plan. And then,
so Jessica, that's for you, 6 o'clock would be your first time on the 24th, and then Wayne, you would want to be there to give it for the office that time.
did, long as we're on plan commission, did, Peterson's go to the county yet?
You know, I don't know their hearing date.
For the county?
Yeah,
I don't know
I'd have
either,
to-
but I,
Can you look that up for me? Because I'd like to go to the county.
yeah, I'll get it.
Okay, thanks. Anderson Farm Park. I don't have nothing. Steve, you got
I have
anything? Anybody else know anything? I know they're not meeting in person yet. I wish they would start doing that. I know they canceled their candlelight because of the weather. Council's report, and Kurt's not here. I don't know, is there anything in the packet? I didn't see anything. Excuse me. Public Works, you guys all seen a picture of the guardrails were done, did a good job. Abel broke the glass in the new tractor, the back window. He told me when he broke it, but I can't remember how he did break it. And they are putting stuff away, and we have had to go out a few times already this year. I don't know nothing else.
Has the town of Montrose contacted about use of anything, Wayne?
No, they were after was it town of Madison, city of Madison merged?
Mhm.
They were getting a truck from the town of Madison, I believe.
Good.
So I know we reached out to them, but they haven't came back or anything. So
Okay, good.
I think we're good.
Did you drive past there?
I did.
I have not drove past it.
I'm not sure what it shows now, but it was a mess.
Mhm.
But the 3 pieces, I think, maybe 3, maybe more, but
I didn't go. Yeah.
it's charred.
Yep.
Okay, any more on torch, Fred? Everything pretty much been
No,
discussed.
about torque.
Just give me, you guys get together, get them signs, what you want, and I'll take them. I could take them Friday, you guys get it done by then. I can't take it before Friday, but I can do it on Friday. Kate, you got anything on senior center report 25?
Well, we're still negotiating. I just want to make sure that this is okay with the board. You know, we have 1 more year left in the contract that we don't want to sign that same contract again. We'd like to come up with a lump sum to pay, maybe an MOU. Memorandum of understanding. I learned that last year. I'm just being smart aleck. Sorry. But you know, they haven't been very easy to negotiate with. You're saying, well, you don't care about your seniors, but there's several things that don't seem real fair in the contract. The contract is very difficult to understand. I have contacted many of the other senior centers, and none of the towns pay as much as we do.
Really?
None of them do. And what is also included in what we're paying is a percentage of the salary for Martin and for Lisa and 2 of the other village employees, which doesn't seem right. You know, I don't mind paying for the increase
seniors.
for the people that work in the senior center, but you know, but when we bring that up to them, they're not going to be very nice, but we will, right?
And it goes through December 23?
Yeah.
Okay, so you will have some hard meetings coming up here shortly.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And I guess let me know if you need me to come to one for something for a backbone.
Okay, thanks.
I think that what Kate's saying is that I think the contract's a little different than what we do for the fire and EMS, because the fire and EMS, we're actually an ownership in the fire and EMS, and in the senior center, we're not an ownership, it's the village department. So I think what we would like to see is to see that our dollars are just going towards the management of the senior center itself.
Is that the way they have it structured for other participants too? Or is it just us? Or we don't know?
Well, so it's only us in Rutland. Village of Brooklyn got out and so did the town of Dunn. So it's only us in Rutland that are following that contract. The other ones are not. The other ones are just getting a set fee. it's really hard for our budget because they can make 7% swings and that's just really difficult in some of those. So.
Okay, thanks, Kate.
Yep.
Anything with the sector, Jennifer?
You know, I just put in here something that I received. It's just a little, you guys can take it home and look at it. It's a question and answer that they kind of put out like their little newsletter of answering tax bill questions. So the tax bills were either put in the mail today or they will be put in the mail tomorrow. Your tax bills will go out. So as you all know that the school district referendum for both Belleville and Oregon will hit this tax bill. And the way that the Department of Revenue equalizes value, the fact that we had a reval, the town of Oregon and the town of Dunn took a lot of the hit of that this year. And so we saw that most tax bills will see about a 19% increase in that school district tax this year. So just to make everyone aware. So if they call you, you are aware and you can have them call the school district if they have questions on how that works out.
Yeah. Building inspection services report, it's in your pamphlet. We had a few. Still, you know, a couple, you know. 28 board communications. I think we should put on the agenda. Get out road bids next month. Road bid next month.
We can talk about, yeah, public, we could add roads, I mean, unless that's under public works, we can add a couple of things.
Because we know the only one we're gonna do is Alpine, so that's all we really gotta send
That's
out.
all we're gonna do, but there is some things that need to be coming up. Such as the grant. It's gonna be due March 20, possibly 24th, minus. We have a Whistler report to be putting in by the 15th. And we were talking about having the road committee in place early next year. So be needing to have those interviews. And if we're going to be having this bi-party legislation, what is that?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it is.
Infrastructure.
The bill.
That grant, I mean, if we're gonna be, that could be something to be targeting to see if we can have the new committee working on that. Well, at least aware of it. Let's see what it is. We'll be looking at that application.
We could actually send out the road bid. We could do that without a motion.
We've already said we're gonna do it.
Like, we gotta send out a bid.
Yeah, we gotta send out a bid, yes.
You could get that,
the bid by January.
you could get that together and send it out.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
gonna be Alpine.
Yes.
Payne and Dolan did get Brooklyn's Alpine share,
Oh, they
Dana
did.
Dolan did?
yes.
Okay.
So-
Wayne, what would you like to use for a bid worksheet? Last year, we sort of amended the town of Brooklyn's, the bid worksheet. Do you guys want to take a look at that again and see if that's okay with going
Sure.
forward?
Arlen and I can look at it together.
I'll get you the bid worksheet
Okay.
that we did for the last one, and you guys want to take a look at that?
Yes.
And then you can tell me the numbers, and then you have to then, I can't really remember. If I put that big worksheet together, then I could just put it on the January agenda for you guys to approve.
We can get it in and say the bids have gotten back by January. Our meeting is the 10th.
Yeah.
So they gotta be in by the 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, the 6th on a Friday. Or something that Friday before our board meeting.
Oh, I thought the board had to approve the bid, but okay.
Well, we
Okay.
do, but they have to have the bid in by a deadline.
I know, I'm so sorry. I was saying that you wanted to approve the bid paperwork, not,
No.
that's, I'm sorry, that's what I was
Approve.
asking.
They have to have the bids in by the last Friday of January, the 6th. And then we can do opening of bids. We'll just do opening bids at the board meeting. We used to open them up the day before or something, but we're only gonna do one road. Because that's all we got money for. So we can just open the bids up at the board meeting. And we'll put it at the beginning of the agenda so that if people from other road places want to come, they don't have to stick around for the whole meeting. They can, we can do it like right after public comment.
Okay, so then I'll send out you what we did the last time for bid paperwork. You're gonna be getting together to do the Whistler with Abel anyways, so then you and him and Abel can all get together.
Yes.
Make all the amendments, and then I can update the bid paperwork and send it up.
Correct.
Okay,
Sounds good. Anything else, board communication? Future agenda items? Just the road bids, all I got. Everybody's quiet. 30 cloak, I'm Clark.
you might as well call me cloak.
I think I was looking at Fred, that's why I said Clark. Clerk's report and loan update.
Well, the loans have all been paid this year, as you all know, and I hope they would be, because we're here at the end of the year. I've sent you all the information, and on my desk or brought to me was Fred's non-candidacy paperwork, and then he is not running. So, again, it's Wayne, Kate, and Fred that are gonna be up. The constable position, as we know, will terminate. Something I talked to Wayne about, the state is asking us to get a .gov website. They want it to be more secure, right? So we have to send a letter to Virginia to get it. I've been waiting about a year, and then they said that they called Wayne, and I'm sure Wayne thought it was a crank call. So we have to just start the process over again, and Wayne just has to know now that when he gets a call, he has to say, yes, we want this, and we have to approve it. Or he has to give verbal confirmation. So he's gonna sign that tonight. I did have a question. The sheriff's department contract for next month. When do we want to talk about that, and when do we want Jan to come? We had that contract. Everyone was supposed to take it home and look at it. Do we want to, what agenda do we want to add that to? So obviously, we know the constable's term would end in April. It has to get sent to the county, and it has to be approved by the county board.
Well, then that means we gotta get it in January.
Okay, would you like me to ask Jan to come to that January meeting?
Do we need her? I think everybody kind of got the questions answered.
I think so.
I don't know if it's necessary.
I think the one outstanding thing was that Larry Beckler had made mention in one of his emails. If there's a desire for us to do some sort of like magnet on the side of a car that would say Town of Oregon or something like that.
Man, you can invite her,
That
invite her. Ask her.
she can't come, she can't come.
She can't come, we'll have you email her question.
Does anybody need the contract again?
No.
Everyone's got the contract, okay, and then, the. Court system, that was another thing. It would be nice if we could ask Jan if the tickets that they're writing for, violations for related to traffic, if that could go to the Oregon court.
Yes.
Does anybody have an issue with
That's where it
that?
should go, I think.
Okay. And then we can
If
get
we can make it
the
work,
fee, okay.
if we can make it work.
You know, that's something we'll have to talk to her about, but it was something we kind of had been working on with Beth Cox as well. Seeing
Yeah,
where,
and that's what I thought was the, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had made that decision.
I didn't know that that was finalized, but we had talked about,
But
you know,
we did talk about it.
Yeah.
If we need to formally,
yeah. And I think we can in that contract with Jan. But I'm not quite sure, but we need to reach out to her to see how we
let's make sure-
finalize that.
but if we need the action, let's have the action.
Yeah, okay, I will clarify with Jan how to do that.
Now, is Beth gonna stay on or not?
So that's another thing. So we have a joint municipal judge, so my notice was just for you guys, but we share that judge, and that judge position is also up. So there will be also a municipal judge on our ballot. I don't know who that will be.
Right. But it doesn't have to be a Town of Oregon resident.
No,
No, it can be between the village and the town.
Okay.
And they're 4-year appointments, I believe. I think the judge is
Appointment.
a 4-year election,
Election.
4-year, I'm sorry, yeah, they're elected for 4 years, not appointed, excuse me.
Okay.
And so I think that's pretty much all I have.
Item 31.
So moved.
That motion Fred to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Kate. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion meeting adjourned at 8:42.